And welcome back to the MadMaggs podcast. We are doing a new thing on the podcast where we are doing the decade series. So basically what this is it is some new faces, some returning faces or voices returning to the podcast. And we're talking about our favorite movies from 2010 to 2019. So this first podcast is all about 2010. We have Heather.
And that's funny because it's solidly on my overrated list.
We have Sasha.
My brain's melting here.
We have Morgan.
I go way back with Liam Neeson, though.
We have Miguel.
Well, yeah, I got you.
And we have myself.
Yeah, that's my number 2, and y'all can suck it.
All talking about our favorite movies from that decade, along with some honorable mentions. So please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so that way you'll be notified every time we upload new content. We will still be doing movie reviews in between this new series. We're going to try to drop an episode of the Decade series once a week. So be sure you're subscribed so that way you do not miss one. And thanks for hanging out with us. I hope you enjoy the podcast.
'2010
movies.
So, number 3. I'm going to get made fun of this one.
Good start.
Yeah, I liked Charlie St. Cloud quite a bit.
Charlie's.
Really?
I know.
With Zac Efron.
Yes,
Where-
Zac Efron, Amanda Crew.
Wow.
Remind us
Nice.
what's that about?
So Zac Efron is in a car wreck with his younger brother. His younger brother dies in the car wreck. And he connects with them as a ghost still. They're playing catch every evening. And so Zac Efron's character gets a job at the cemetery so that he can play catch with him every night. And then he kind of has a connection with other people that he knows that are also dead. And that's kind of where the female actress, I forget her name, Amanda Crew, kind of comes into the picture. And I don't guess I want to spoil it completely if somebody hasn't seen it yet.
It came out in 2010.
I know.
think we're fine.
All right. But yeah, it's kind of a, I don't know, fantasy, death, heartwarming love story of sorts. I know, right? So yeah, that's was one of my favorite.
That's a good.
It's one of my favorite movies that year.
Bits and pieces of it, and now you've made me want to revisit it if it's on your top 3. But yeah, that's cool.
You know me, I got to be different.
I was not expecting that choice, to be honest.
All right, this is Sasha, by the way, and I'm going with my number 3, and I'm going with my gut here because I've got it written down differently. But my gut tells me to say Tron Legacy. I'm going Tron Legacy as number 3 in 2010 because I feel better about it than what I had written down. And I feel like I could talk about it a little bit more. So Tron Legacy is supposed to be a direct sequel of the Tron 1980s movie starring Jeff Bridges, where he gets sucked into a computer-like world that he is intent on escaping once he gets in, but at the same time he sees a lot of cool stuff going on in there, and he's a game programmer. Anyways, I've seen the original Tron once. I've seen this movie about 6 or 7 times, so I can speak on it a little bit more verbosely. Tron Legacy picks up where I want to say it's 10 years after the first Tron, maybe more, because the kid, Jeff Bridges' son, is now in his 20s, and he's an inheritor of Jeff Bridges' company, and he is on a mission to seek out what happened to his dad, and everything gets triggered based on a message that he receives from his dad, supposedly from inside of the Tron world, or the world of Tron. Tron's a person, so I don't know if I can refer to it as the Tron world. But anyways, that kicks things off, and the reason I like this movie so much is not the plot necessarily. It's the music, the cinematography, and this is the first movie from Joseph Kosinski, the major first release, and this guy has been on a rampage ever since. He's directing the new Top Gun movie. I think it's in great hands because of that. And he also directed Oblivion, which will probably show up on my list later on. But anyways, Tron Legacy, bad CGI aside, the characters are really strong, and Olivia Wilde's character, and just the whole intricacies of the world once you get digging into it, and all the cool stuff that comes along with it. Great villain, by the way. No spoilers here, but it's a familiar face. So yeah, that's my number 3 is Tron Legacy.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to go with Unstoppable as my number 3. Yes, with Denzel Washington and Chris Pine, where they're trying to stop the train that's like out of control. I loved it. I don't know. I thought they had pretty good chemistry. I thought it was really intense. Like I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. That is all. I don't really have anything outside of that.
Does this stem from your love of Chris Pine as Captain Kirk a little bit?
That's a good
Maybe,
question.
but I like
Valid.
Denzel Washington just as much.
Denzel
so
and Tony Scott have this weird magic like potion
Yeah.
together. Crimson Tide, Man on Fire, Unstoppable's right up there.
Mhm.
Taking a film 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one they did together. That one's
Remake.
yeah.
That's an
Yep.
interesting choice for favorite. For
Walter
favorite
Matthau
films.
version was better.
But it's an honorable choice. They're all really good. But yeah, Unstoppable is based on true events, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Holy shit,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on true events. So there was a train rambling through, I want to say, the Pennsylvania
Something like that.
line
Yeah.
somewhere. Lost its use of brakes, had toxic material along the way,
And it's coming up on this big turn that's
Yeah.
like headed right into the city.
it's like speed. on
That
the train.
essentially, yeah, that if they hit this turn at whatever speed they're at, it's gonna basically, wreak havoc on the
Holy shit,
city.
It's all like the universe
gonna
made that
derail.
happen so Tony Scott could make that fucking movie.
Right?
Like that's what because it sounds
Right in
too
his
absurd
wheelhouse.
for it to be real. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
It's
but
pretty
I
crazy.
I really enjoyed it.
Check that out. I'm sorry, I never saw it. I
Oh,
never saw
man.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
I guess it's my turn then. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. My number 3 is actually Let Me In. It was such a weird, dark, gloomy movie. I thought it was just beautiful. I remember the first time I saw it, I was so taken aback by it. And Richard Jenkins, who's actually one of my favorite actors of all time, does such an
Great
amazing
character
job on there. He's amazing. Like he'll make you laugh your ass off, like on Step Brothers. But he'll also give such a tragic performance, like on Let Me In. Now, he's absolutely amazing. There was never there's not a weak link in that movie. Elias Koteas looks very different in that movie than he did from Casey Jones. Freaking Ninja Turtles. But again, consistently, he's amazing. I love gloomy and beautiful horror movies at the same time. If something can be both beautiful and creepy at the same time,
It's atmospheric.
yeah,
That's what it turns out.
that's what I absolutely loved about that movie.
Have you seen the original?
Yes,
Let
I
the Right
actually.
One In?
Yeah, Let the Right One In. I liked it. I like the American one better, and a lot of people give me shit for that, but
That's
I make
okay.
no apologies. I fucking love that movie.
Good choice.
I'm glad you talked about your movie, like beautiful horror movie, because my pick is Black Swan.
That's your 3.
That is my number 3.
It's a good movie.
I really enjoyed the movie. I thought that the interpretation of Swan Lake and seeing Natalie Portman in a role that we haven't really seen her in before, was really interesting, and her descent into madness with trying to beat his character, trying to be the best, and I thought it was just crazy to watch. Like, I like watching those movies that you really kind of don't know what you really don't know what's happening, what's real, what's not real. And Natalie played it very well. So, and Darren Aronofsky was the director, and you never know what you're gonna get with one of his films.
He's really good.
Sometimes even after you watch it.
Right? Yeah, even after you watch it multiple times, like
He's really good at the descending into madness bit, though.
Yeah.
He did that with Mother, Requiem for a Dream.
yeah.
And I'll admit I haven't seen Black Swan, so for it to show up on your list, yeah.
You've
Oh,
never seen Black
wow.
Swan, really?
I've never seen Black Swan. I want to say I fast forward it. This is way back in the day when I would watch movies that I wasn't super interested in. I would still watch them so I could have something to say about it in a weird way, and I'd watch it on fast forward because I was crunched for time, and was like, I've been hearing all these things about Black Swan. Let me throw it on, and I'll just fast forward through the movie at like 5 speed, so I can ingest the visuals. I know, but yeah,
You should
I'm
actually
going to
watch the
revisit it
movie.
now. Okay.
Yeah, because what's funny is that there's a scene whenever she's practicing ballet, like her ballet dancer is in there with her, and he's just like, you're terrible, you suck, you're not sexy, whatever. Like, they go on to actually get married. So, like, in real life. So, like, I know that was like, cool. Yeah, their characters were kind of at odds a little bit, but that
sold me.
That part was just really funny. No, that was the director of Black Swan. This was the ballet, the ballet director. He was the ballet director, but this was like her ballet teacher. Okay. So no, not the same.
I think it was the ballet, the world of ballet, that threw me off. But I shouldn't say that anymore because I've recently seen Suspiria, and that's
the original or the new one?
The remake. Yeah, I've seen the original of D'Argento like long ago. Yeah. But this new one, different podcast, different episode. I loved every bit of it. So if Black Swan is back then, I was 23, 24 when it came out. So it wasn't up my wheelhouse, but as I've matured, it probably would fall in line. So yeah, I'm eager now.
Well, we have it, so we'll let you borrow it.
Batman v Superman, Black Swan.
Yeah, we're gonna switch that up this week.
There we go.
So that was your number 3.
All right, so we're ready back around here for number 2. So I had to go comedy. You know me, I love my comedies. The Other Guys was just a hilarious movie.
So funny.
In 2010.
Yeah, it was.
I know a lot of people get tired of Will Ferrell. I can't get enough. Mark Wahlberg is genius.
I liked them together.
Yeah, they made a great chemistry in that movie, I thought. I loved his alternate ego as Gator, the pimp. And as he would regress back into it, as it would get more stressful for him during the movie. It was I thought that was a lot of fun. There's a little bit of a message in there with large banks moving money around, and that was kind of at the end of the recession when all that stuff was going on.
Take.
Yeah, it was so it was kind of fun way to kind of bring that to light, I guess, a little bit.
Well, what's funny is like the first 5 minutes you get these badass dudes and then they kill themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's land on the bushes. Yeah, absolutely genius. Aim for the bushes.
The Other Guys, one of those movies that when I saw in the trailer, I didn't want to like it because it's like you said, Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
In many ways, it's like salt. He's can only have so much. I saw it and I laughed my ass off. I thought the best part of that movie was Michael fucking Keaton.
Yeah, he was genius in that too. Yes.
Michael Keaton was so funny in that movie. He's just such a weirdo captain. Also, I think he worked at Home Depot, or where else did he work?
It was Bed Bath & Beyond, where his
that's right.
And he kept dropping references to what female band was it? Do you guys remember? It was TLC references in there. That was freaking hilarious.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. I watched it sitting at the dealership waiting for work to be done on my car, and I watched the entire movie because it took forever. But
what
I
a
really
terrible
enjoyed
way
it.
to take a movie, right?
No, I enjoyed it. I was surprised.
Yeah, really funny. Love it.
Does Rock have a cameo?
Yes, Rock.
He's one of the two guys at the beginning, right?
Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock.
Yes,
they're
the original.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, crashing the car to the bank.
Hence the Other Guys, the whole title of the movie.
Right. They're in it for like what, 5 minutes, if that.
5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
The Wahlberg Ferrell combo has gotten really good over time. Like, minus Daddy's Home 2 is okay. Daddy's Home 1 was good.
Yeah.
And they've also got the Other Guys. Am I missing anything there?
Not right off the top of my head. Yeah.
Or Daddy's Home and 1 and 2 and Other Guys. I could go on that.
Underrated comedy duo because Wahlberg's like the serious stone-faced guy and Will Ferrell's the comedy slapstick. So
yeah, that scene where he's making fun of the ballet dancer with his girlfriend, and he actually learned ballet so he could make fun of him. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, my number 2, shooting off the hip here because I hate the list that I came up with more than my gut is telling me here. So number 2, I'm going with Shutter Island. And I originally had this at number 1 written down right in front of me, and I just don't feel that way about it right now on the spot.
That's fair.
Shutter Island number 2, because I've seen that movie 3 times. I read the book once on a road trip, and I've sort of gotten a little something different every time I've seen it, and that's actually probably Scorsese's intent on the movie, and the story kind of contributes that way too, because the first time you see it, and if you haven't seen it, so sorry here, but the first time you watch Shutter Island, it's a police procedural mystery unfolding that changes genres maybe about 3/4 of the way through. And then the second time you watch Shutter Island, you've got that fourth wall broken for you already, so you know how things end up, and you get to ingest the entire movie differently than the first time, and that can put you on edge. It could put you in a whole new space of understanding what's going on, and what's going on is something that is a deeper plot in itself, because I don't want to spoil too much, but the audience in this movie is brought on to the protagonist's point of view for so much of it, and then it turns out that the protagonist may not be the guy who we thought he was, and the audience is conflicted there, and it sort of makes you take a step back and break down some of the things that you personally build your world around, and say, is this all a figment of my imagination, or is it more? Is there more going on? Little thing. It's a very existential movie for me personally, and that's why I associated with it so strongly. But there's so many little nuances within it, and it's like a treasure hunt for a cinephile who takes a look at details in specific scenes and little Easter eggs. It's Easter egg heaven for me. And Leo DiCaprio, I want to say, was nominated for Best Actor that year, deservedly so, in that movie. On paper, I wouldn't think Scorsese directed this movie, but it's like going out on a limb for him, and I think it rejuvenated his status as one of the greats to ever do it, because it's so different than everything else he's done. Psychological thriller, police procedural, mystery, romance to some degree. There's so many genres, melting pot of movies. Love it.
It's one I need to revisit, because we only saw it once in the theater, and I haven't seen it since then.
Yeah, I saw it a couple of times. I really liked it, but I watched it in 2010, and then probably watched it whenever it came out on DVD again, and I haven't watched it since. But I mean, I remember it, and I remember how it happened. So for that to stay with me for almost 10 years, like it's pretty good. So I do need to revisit it.
Acting's top notch. Mark Ruffalo, really good. Ben Kingsley's the shit in that movie.
Yes.
And DiCaprio carries it. And Michelle Williams is in it too, as DiCaprio's wife. Top 2.
Great choice.
Yeah, agreed. So I think my second choice is going to be Scott Pilgrim.
Like it?
I love it. It's sure, it's a comic book movie, I guess, but it's like to the extreme of I don't know. It's just fun, and it's conventional but unconventional at the same time. Like, I don't know how that really works, but that's, I don't know.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
That's on my list of the fuck you movie.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
But it's just like, I remember everyone kept saying, Miguel, go see Scott Pilgrim. Go see fucking Scott Pilgrim. Everybody and their fucking mother at college was telling me to go see that movie. Everyone loved it, and I saw it
because it's good.
Well, I just thought it was so pretentious, like with the surrealism at times, and it was just felt over the top. It was like I feel like millennial schlock sometimes, because it was just so kind of pretentious. But I like people in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What is her name? That Mary Elizabeth Winstead. With what little she's given, I think she's amazing. There's elements that I think are pretty funny. I think it has a great sense of irony, but there was just so many scenes that I thought were pretentious. The scene that did make me laugh out loud was the vegan, when he gets his vegan card taken away. I did laugh out loud at that. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I got you.
Fair enough. That's fine.
Oh yeah, were we on 2?
Yep.
What do you know? Number 2 for me is also a horror movie. So I guess it was a pretty good year for horror movies. Doesn't happen often, but number 2 for me is The Crazies.
Dang, good one.
There's so many. It didn't start in 2010, but I think over the last 20 years, as creatively bankrupt as Hollywood has become, we keep seeing fucking remakes. It's just remake after remake. And I remember when I heard that they were going to remake The Crazies, I thought that was one of my favorite films that no one knew existed.
Romero, late 70s.
Late 70s. It's one of his more obscure ones people forgot about. But it was pretty good. And then when I heard Timothy Olyphant was in it, who I love, and
It's fresh off Justified, I think, at the
Yeah.
time. So he was gaining steam. I knew him back from Scream 3 or Scream. Yeah,
yeah,
Scream
Mickey.
3. Oh, Mickey. That's
Mickey,
it.
the Quentin Tarantino
That was
cycle
my
film
intro to
studio.
him. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember I watching it in the theater, and it was everything I had hoped it would be. You know, it was better than the original. George Romero came out and said this was better than what we did back then. You know, it was scary. It was a really consistent movie. Really frustrating they didn't make a sequel to it because it was such a solid, good remake. That doesn't happen often.
But do you want a sequel from that? Though?
I actually do. I think if they can extend on what they did so well in the first movie, it'd be great. You know,
In a bigger city setting, a sequel would have been interesting because I remember, in spoiler alert, the closing scene is them walking towards a bigger city somewhere in Iowa, right?
Yeah.
And the satellite.
There are no big cities in Iowa.
It's like Rapid
trying to
City.
think of one.
There's Cedar Rapids.
I think
Des Moines?
that's where they're headed.
Yeah, Cedar Rapids. That's
Des Moines?
population 250, 300,000. I want to say. You can fact check me on that. But
That's the biggest city in Iowa.
Well, they could
I
do
think Des
anything.
Moines is-
They could have
Yeah, I
the
believe.
Trixie
Oh,
virus
wait,
go to
wait.
like Illinois.
Bruh.
Or something.
I've been in Des Moines. It is so tiny.
really?
Yes.
Alright.
I mean,
Tiny
there's
compared to.
not a lot in Iowa. They're gonna be walking across pastures.
Sure.
They need to keep walking and go.
Do you
go
think?
to another state.
Do you guys think that a story like The Crazies is scarier in a big city or is it scarier in a
Oh.
small town?
We'll save that for 2011, Miguel.
Oh, okay.
Small town.
Because I've got some discussions about my favorite movie in 2011 that answer those questions.
Okay.
Oh.
Shit. Oh yeah. But no, I recently saw The Crazies for the second or third time, and I remember seeing that trailer and being freaked out by it. The whole pitchfork in the medical ward being drug across the floor, and that's one of the more memorable scenes. But the virus that overtakes it has a very Maximum Overdrive feel to it. That movie.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it too, but that's exactly
The
how I
opening
feel.
scene's a guy coming out on a baseball field with a shotgun, or one of the opening scenes with a shotgun and going ham and going crazy on folks, right? And Maximum Overdrive, it's the machinery coming out on a baseball field.
That
running,
damn Coke machine
steamrolling over
killing
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the parallel there drawn immediately for me, and that made me really dig into The Crazies and that whole the small town vibe works for it, and we'll get to why big town vibes would make it even more intense.
Heather, you've seen The Crazies.
I
right?
haven't. All I know of it is the poster.
Can't wait to
Rhoda
make you
Mitchell.
watch it.
Rhoda Mitchell's
yeah. Fresh off the Silent Hill, I think.
You want to show me the population of Cedar?
132,000. Sir.
132. That's, I mean,
Bigger than Richardson.
that's bigger than
Yeah.
Richardson.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Except it's dying, and Richardson is kind of blossoming.
Yeah.
Cedar Rapids is probably on its way out, but nicer climate.
yeah, it is. It was very nice.
What's your two?
My number 2 is Toy Story 3.
Somebody had to see.
Hell yeah! I'm still crying from that movie. I can't help it.
Yes, thank you,
For all the
Heather.
10-year-olds out there.
So no, listen. Whenever you,
What did I called it an orphanage when I was
You
referring
did.
to it, yes,
Yes.
instead of a daycare.
It's
My bad.
Daycare.
my
Yeah.
god,
That's how the
Anyway.
movie made me
Grizzly.
feel.
Very dark.
it is.
So sad.
It is so good. It had the absolute best ending I could have hoped for.
Which is why she's boycotting Toy Story 4.
Exactly. So, yeah, Toy Story 4 will not get my money unless it's on Netflix and it's already paid for. So, or Hulu or Prime, whichever one it comes on first.
Did you ever
So-
finish it since we totally ruined it in the trilogy discussion?
Oh no!
I mean, who needs to watch it when you had every detail of the last hour and a half explained to you so gratuitously?
Yes.
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I have a 3-year-old at home, so I'm sure Toy Story is in the canon, the future canon of what we're going to be watching tens of 20s of times.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
it's just it wraps up the trilogy so nicely, so perfectly. Because let's be real, like a lot of times whenever they come out with a sequel or the third movie in a trilogy, they suck. Like they take away something, or it doesn't feel like the original movie. It doesn't have that same
Legacy.
feel or anything.
I agree.
Well, yeah, not Tron Legacy. That was good. Mostly Star Wars, but
they get progressively worse.
Yeah. So, but no, it just wrapped it up so nice, and it's wrapped up in my opinion. So, and not acknowledging Toy Story 4, but yeah, that's my number 2, and y'all can suck it. The 10-year-old in me was
good.
living their best life watching Toy Story 3. Okay,
That's awesome.
No, I can back you up on that.
yeah, because I made you watch it on New Year's Eve.
You did. We were drinking, and I was almost crying on that last fucking scene.
Really?
We were we were drunk out of our minds. Okay, it was New Year's Eve. We had just started talking, and I was like, "You haven't watched Toy Story 3? We're watching it right now."
So Toy Story 3 has a sentimental place as well in your heart because you guys had just started talking.
Well, that's me because I grew up with the first 2 movies too.
Well, that too, yeah. So there's a lot of.
It's interesting to see to hear people's lists evolve, and you kind of get a little semblance of where they were, what was going on in their lives too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was pretty fucked up because Shutter Island and Tron Legacy were. But number 1, I'll be redeemed.
I mean,
Intended.
Tron Legacy was
Not really.
it was on my list, but it did make my top 3. So
Yeah, we could do honorable mentions after.
We will.
Yeah, that sounds
yeah,
good.
we are.
I've got a litany.
All right, so we're ready for my number
No,
1.
Number
We
one.
are.
Number 1, I'm going action movie, and this is nostalgia, I know, but the A-Team was my favorite movie of 2010.
Wow.
My brain's melting here because the A-Team was good. But
They
I can't
cast
wait
it
to hear
so
why-
perfectly. Again, I grew up with the A-Team TV show and watched it religiously as a young child, so it hit a lot of things for me, and I thought they did a really good job casting everyone. The guy who plays Murdoch,
Oh yeah.
Charlton Copley,
Yes.
from District 9. Yeah,
he
that's right.
just nails that. He makes that movie, in my opinion. Every time I go back, I'm impressed by the way
He makes
he-
every movie.
He's
Yeah.
such a fantastic
He's
actor.
awesome.
he really did that.
Underused.
I love the fact when they were sitting there, they're at the camp in Iraq, and he's cooking out on the grill, and Bradley Cooper's character goes, "Hey, no antifreeze this time on my burger. I got a little palsy last time." It was stuff like that. That's just a little genius.
Well, I don't
But it's
remember
a-
any quotes from the A-Team.
It's a good old fashioned action movie and good action characters, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
Love Bradley Cooper anyway. Liam Neeson's always good. Rampage did a
he
great
good?
job.
Is Liam Neeson always good?
Not always.
Okay.
No, he kind of gets typecast a little bit and thrown in the same movie over and over again. But I go way back with Liam Neeson though.
Darkman?
No, I go further back than that.
Oh, dang.
Um,
Elaborate.
Excalibur.
Ah,
He has a very short role in Excalibur, but it's fun nonetheless.
awesome. Well, my number 1 is the 8. No, it's not the 8. My number 1 is the Book of Eli, starring
Oh, here we
Denzel
go.
Washington, Gary Oldman, directed by the Hughes brothers, with Mila Kunis as well. I never pronounce her last name right, but that's okay. The Book of Eli is an amazing movie. I think I associate with it right off the jump because at the same time I was playing a little known game called Fallout 3. And the Book
Very
of
little
Eli may actually be the most accurate representation of what a post-apocalyptic wasteland would look like, and it's kind of the one that I want to see if there is ever one, because, well, not to the degree of the characters, but the world itself. It is a fend for yourself solo journey, and that's kind of what the main character embodies completely. There's a lot to this movie. Depending on the person going in to see it, you will likely get something different from it because it is not, as the critics put it, and so many people put it, it's not as pro Christianity and pro religion as it may seem. It sort of has characters built in within it that show you all the different facets of how religion can go for people and how spirituality can go for people, from extremists to people who are just trying to live their best life, to people who are trying to control it, to people who are innocent bystanders. There's characters that represent every possible connection to spirituality in that movie. And at the end of the day, Denzel Washington's just trying to do his part in keeping what he relates to alive and sort of going. And he's met with Gary Oldman's character, who happens to want to do the same thing, but in a much more pre-dystopian world controlled narrative. And that's where you get your parallels to what actually organized religion is like for a lot of people these days, and where a lot of the criticism comes from. So, I mean, that's just a 90 to 3-minute breakdown there, and I could talk about Book of Eli for hours upon hours.
Please don't.
So anything that I can talk about hours just resonates with me as pretty important, and that's why Book of Eli's.
We bought that like years ago and still haven't watched it.
Oh, man.
When's the last time you've seen it?
Maybe half a decade ago. I've seen it 3 times.
Okay.
I started it recently, and I was like, oh yeah, this is on my list, because I wanted to make sure that it was worthy of being on my list. And as the last like 3 or 4 weeks have developed in this whole like research, I that's the movie I haven't had to watch, and I had it written down here at 3, and just on the way, I'm like, I like that movie more than 3, just because it's the fight scenes, the villain, the spoilers, all of what goes in there. There's so much to digest.
I have not seen it.
Oh,
sad,
come
man.
on.
Oh,
Denzel is pretty badass. That character is badass.
this is
Oh,
Denzel.
Yeah.
well, I started it. I've started it, but I didn't finish it.
Major
Oh, here we go.
spoiler,
Watching movies in 20-minute
spoiler.
segments.
It's a 9-year-old
Right.
movie, but yes, major spoiler.
Major spoiler, because that
I wasn't going to go there, but you want to?
Wait, did you spoil it? I haven't seen it
On the
yet.
fucking,
I didn't hear what
in
you
the,
said.
In the trailers and in the
Okay.
posters, he appears to be blind.
dang, and you haven't seen it?
No.
Oh, and you think that?
He's looking like Ray fucking Charles in
Okay.
all the media.
Then
like,
it's not a spoiler. Then.
Okay,
I'll
then.
leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay.
That was so subtle.
I thought that was part of the novelty of it. It's blind Denzel being kind of a prophet, or at least implied, implicit, and then you have Mila Kunis. I was turned off at Mila Kunis because I was like,
she's the definition of like a non-essential character in that movie, but she does
non-playable character.
Yeah, she's an NPC essentially. If we're equating it to the Fallout world.
She's like Meg in Family Guy.
Okay, gotcha.
She is, in fact.
It is Meg.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's the joke.
I like her now, but back in 2010, I just saw her as Jackie, and she kind of got on my nerves trying to do anything else. I mean, since then, I like her, but that was probably one of the reasons I blew off that movie.
She's not the draw. Gary Oldman as a villain should be the draw.
He plays a great villain in
he's
a lot of different things. Yeah,
he's amazing. In this
Love him.
movie, he starts off as a guy who you wouldn't even necessarily think is a really bad guy, but the closer he gets to what he's trying to do in the movie, the worse and worse he gets. And the parallels to that are endless, because that's how people react to power in many general situations. And then Eli, Denzel Washington, is just the polar opposite. And but he's not blind. No,
Ullman,
not at all.
okay. Ullman's character sounds like a religious Captain Ahab, is what he fucking sounds like.
Yes, he is
a
exactly.
little bit.
Wow. I
He-
wrote it down. I have to watch it now.
He's hell bent, no pun intended, on restoring the control that religion had prior to the apocalypse and the dystopian. So yeah, and Denzel is sort of kind of figuring things out as he goes, and even adding on to it in a weird way. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that movie, and yeah, definitely worth watching.
I gotta check it out and call you right afterward and tell you what I think.
Yeah. It's one of those we've intended to watch forever and just haven't for some reason. My top choice is Buried with Ryan Reynolds.
I just saw that
So,
like
ugh.
a few weeks ago for the first time.
It's so good. It's so intense. And even like if you see it multiple times, it's not any less intense. Like as the first time you're sitting there going, what's going to happen? And the whole movie, up to this point in his career, I think he was mostly known for
Just Friends.
comedic performances.
Waiting.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're like, really, Ryan Reynolds is going to carry this movie? Because the whole movie is just him, and he damn sure does. He carries it quite well, in fact. And the whole movie is him buried in a coffin, in case you haven't seen it, and he has a cell phone, so you hear a couple of other voices, but you never see another person, and just his strategy of trying to figure out how he got there and how he's going to get out, and
it's just a puzzle, but sort of the pieces fall in line as the movie develops.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, it really is. And if you watch it, watch a lot of the behind the scenes things on how they filmed some of this stuff, because he's actually spending however long it took them to shoot this stuff in a coffin, but they'll have some that are really, really tall or some that are really wide so they can get these shots from different angles, and it's just fascinating. But I thought it was a stellar performance from him.
Yeah, this is 2010 Ryan Reynolds. This is before he got to do stuff like Safe House. They get some
Right,
nominations.
right.
So back then, probably they were still thinking of shit like you just said.
Yeah, and just
Van
the level
Wilder,
of like
yeah.
claustrophobia that it brings out in you watching this is kind of crazy.
All right, what's your number one pick, babe?
Yeah. My number one movie for the year is absolutely The King's Speech.
Oh, it was good.
Really?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I remember
Very good.
after we watched it that first night, we saw it, because I wish we would have seen it at the theater, and so we rented it, and that was one of those movies I was like, damn, I wish I would have seen it before the Oscars gave it so much well-deserved credit. I didn't think I was going to.
Oscar.
It got nominated. I don't remember if it won that year.
It won Best Picture that year.
It did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sell out.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a good movie, though. It really is.
It really is.
good.
The performances in it are really stellar. Just
Again, one of those movies where there's no weak link in it. He's amazing, but Helena Bonham Carter,
yeah.
she's so fucking amazing, and she's right off the heels of playing what's her name from Harry Potter,
Bellatrix.
Bellatrix. You see Bellatrix, you see her, you can't believe it's the same human being, but she's an underrated character actor.
Yeah.
So is what's his name? Colin Firth. He can be fucking hilarious. Like on what's that movie, the kids in school, they're all like assassins. You know what I'm talking about? The Kingsman. He can be hilarious.
School. I guess it is a school. It's like a training ground.
Yeah.
But that's what he can do. You can see Colin Firth in The Kingsman, which is a violent satire, and then you can see him in
King's
Speech, and he'll break your heart. But it was a great movie. Really, really glad that I saw it. I wish I had seen it in the theater. I liked it that much, but every time it's on Showtime or HBO, I'm going to sit and watch it from beginning to end. Or I'll try to. It's just a damn good, solid movie.
I'm surprised no one's talked about this, but so y'all might make fun of me, but my number one's Inception.
Definitely tough. I had Leo already on there, so I didn't.
You don't want 2 Leo movies in a year?
Crush to come out so early.
I love Inception. I've watched I don't know how many like videos about Inception. Like what did the ending mean? Like I've seen 2 things. It's like obviously like he's in a he's still in a dream, and then obviously he's out of the dream. Like I watch polar opposites of these videos about the movie, but I love it. I love that it leaves it up to interpretation of what actually happens to him. Everybody's so good in that movie. Leo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy,
Marion Cotillard.
Yes, I love her so much too. Ellen Page, Michael Caine, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
He's
whole
genius.
cast.
Ken Watanabe even is pretty good.
He's awesome.
Yeah, like
underrated.
Just all of it was so fun to watch, and it was nice watching Cillian Murphy not be a bad guy too in a movie. Yeah, so this is like right after Scarecrow. I mean, and it's a lot of Christopher Nolan's friends that are in this movie. Yeah, so
Batman Begins was 08, and this was Hot on the Hills.
He wasn't a bad guy in 28 Days Later.
Oh,
He
that's
was the
right.
good guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy
So
too.
good.
Yeah.
Solid movie. Yeah.
So I mean, I love Inception. I think I just watched it 2 weeks ago,
Nice.
and oh man, it's still I fucking love it. Like I enjoy every single minute watching that movie.
It is a meticulously directed and for it to be an original screenplay is kind of, I believe it's an original screenplay.
Well, that's the kind of a little bit of controversy behind that
Mind-boggling.
because there's apparently
Mind
like
bottling?
Mind-boggling.
boggling.
Bottling, sir.
Bottling?
The apparently there's I think like a Japanese cartoon where Inception mirrors a lot of it that came out I think in like 2004 2005.
Have you heard the Lion King? There's a
So I recently again watching a video of how close that show was to Inception, and there's definitely similarities. Maybe if I watch the whole movie, I'll be like, yeah, maybe a little bit of a copy, but it doesn't make me not enjoy that movie even more because there's just so many different elements, and
definitely got the Christopher Nolan ball rolling to all hell. I mean, that was the best, one of the best director decades I think we'll ever see was this 2010s for Christopher Nolan because, well, Dark Knight had just come out previously, so that kind of got his interest rolling. But before that, it was following his indie movie to start things off. It was the Insomnia American remake, and then Batman Begins. But the Dark Knight into Inception, into Interstellar, into Dark Knight Rises, actually reversed that order. But strong decade for him. That movie's super impressive.
Well, and even like watching it still, and the CGI in it is so good too.
Underrated.
And just the concept. I can talk about that. Inception's one of those movies I can talk about forever with people.
That's good.
So
and that's funny because it's solidly on my overrated list.
Dang.
But
that hurt.
I've only seen it the one time in the theater, so maybe that's it, and I need to watch it again.
It could be all the jokes that happen now about Inception.
But even sitting watching it in the theater, I was like, "What is this?" Like I went in with such high expectations. Yeah, but it wasn't even that. It wasn't I was confused about the movie. I was like, why is everybody loving this? Because I went in, this phenomenal cast, this guy that just came off of Dark Knight, like you said, and so I just went in, I think, I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't like it. It could be. Maybe watching it now, I would feel differently, but...
Sometimes you gotta get away from the hype to enjoy a movie. Yeah, you gotta kind of forget about it.
Let's have a movie night.
Right? We need to.
The only problem with Inception, it is a great movie. But it's like 80% exposition. It's 80% express or just explaining things. I'm in the third fucking act and you're still explaining things that should have happened first.
But the explaining part was interesting. With that kind of movie, it's not like hey, we're gonna walk to the park and fly a kite. Kind of like that kind of explanation. But this is it has to be explained. And the soundtrack too. Like I have the whole soundtrack and I listen to it at least once a week. Hans Zimmer was my number one played. No, he was my number one played artist on my Spotify list in 2018.
Who's number 2?
They didn't give me a number 2.
Taylor Swift.
No,
right? I was gonna say Beyonce.
No. It was probably John Williams, but I listen to a lot of movie scores on Spotify.
Nice.
So, but yeah,
the Inception score was stellar,
phenomenal.
Even from the trailers, like that's kind of what got my interest in that movie. Peaked was the music they used in the trailers and the visual of the city collapsing on itself and how that was in a dream and all that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm sold because I've seen imagery like that in my dreams. So to see it on cinema on the big screen afterwards and like that control, if the one thing that I take most from Inception is how accurate it did a job of portraying what dream control was like for the person who dreams. We've all dreamed at this table unless we're weirdos, right? But you have a certain semblance.
Like, why is the side eye at Morgan on that?
Because
we're not here to discuss my dreams.
We're not going to discuss your dreams.
You guys aren't ready for that.
There's definitely a level
that is a whole
of
nother podcast
within dreams that the dreamer has once he knows he's dreaming, and that is clear as day in this movie because that's what it sort of evolves from, is this team of dream crackers and sleuths that know how to do this for a living. So this very well could be like a movie that's 150 years ahead of its time, and people are doing this in 150 years, and they're just injecting themselves into dreams. That's why the movie's nuts for me.
Yeah.
Also, the setting changes and how it goes from like an airplane to rioting Middle Eastern town, and then it shifts to like the Arctic. Just that scenery change and the visual aesthetics of the movie jumping from one scene to another.
Yeah, and then like Russia, like snowy Russia or something like that. Yeah,
Siberia. Yeah,
like, and on top of that, a lot of it too is really scary. Like he is keeping his. I mean, if y'all haven't seen Inception, I'm sorry, spoiler. Like he's keeping his wife alive in his dreams, and then on top of that, his memory of her is just like she's basically
fractured.
Trapped. Yeah, like it's fractured. It's trapped in his mind, and he can't move on from what happened and what he did to her.
I need to research which movie came out first, Shutter Island or Inception, because I feel Leo read both of these scripts and he said,
"Fuck yeah,
these are pretty much the same movie in different worlds with different directors, and this is where I want to be right now in my career." Because Shutter Island, spoilers for people who haven't seen that, he is keeping his wife alive in memory, and he is actually on the hunt for his wife's killer, and he is sort of blocking his reality and what actually may have happened because he's so fervently pursuant of this pipe dream. And I don't want to say that's exactly what happens in Inception, but the core of it is there.
Yeah.
So Shutter Island came out in February.
July on Inception.
Was a summer movie.
July on Inception.
The Nolan
nice.
Treatment. Yeah.
But and then there's another scene where they're in a different country, and there's dozens of these old men laying around, and they're just like, well, they come here every day just to sleep, and he's the guy's telling him like, no, they come here to live.
Yeah, right.
Like they're living their lives in their dreams because they're old men, they can't do that kind of stuff anymore. So
and now everybody's got a VR headset.
Yes.
And, they're strapped to a computer 8 hours out of the day, 40 hours out of the week. So yeah, living your dreams. Right. I'm not looking at you for that one.
I was about to say, I don't have a VR headset, right?
He doesn't even have a Blu-ray player.
I don't have time.
Our VR headset is right behind everybody.
Good choice.
Don't have time for that.
So what's everybody's guilty pleasure movie from 2010?
So I've got kind of an also eligible here. I liked Red, Retired, and Extremely Dangerous.
Yes!
Bruce Willis. That was a really fun action movie. Helen Mirren, I still would, with no doubt, married or not. And then my guilty pleasure is Piranha 3D.
Dang,
it comes on and I'll catch bits and pieces of it. It's just a fun movie. Love Elizabeth Shue. She's kind of hot again. Back in my wheelhouse.
Is that the one with Richard fucking Dreyfuss comes on?
Yes, Richard Dreyfuss is in it. Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's not a good movie,
but the gore in that movie is pretty good.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And it's not worse than the original. It's as good.
The concept's solid, I guess. Yeah. A lake under a lake.
Weren't you recommending that to me like not too long ago?
You've seen this movie?
Oh, of course I saw this movie, man. So if it's any kind of like water movie, like I'm all about it. Like you know me, so
any kind of water movie. Okay.
Like Lake Placid.
Oh, it's so
Piranha,
good.
Genius.
Yes. Jaws.
That one you said was
greatest movie ever.
The Meg.
Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue Sea.
The Meg's great.
Yes.
Magic in the water. Has anyone here at this table heard of Magic in the
No.
Water?
No.
The Loch Ness Monster and the kids.
I love Loch Ness
Free Willy
Monster.
Loch Ness Monster.
You didn't like The Shape of Water.
Dolphin
no.
Tail?
That was a good
Tail?
movie. Yeah.
With,
I did not cry at all in that movie.
Listen, that is no to all that. No Dolphin Tail. No Shape of Water. What was that? 2017.
We'll get there.
We'll get to Shape of Water.
Oh, yeah.
But
the shit list.
but yeah, no, I think I would because I think I saw it somewhere and I think I suggested it to you.
Yeah, we were talking about movies. Shocker.
Shocker.
So
I mean, it's good.
Yeah, Red was solid. You like it?
Red was good. Malkovich was.
He's
really
funny.
good.
His
Yeah,
character's
he was
funny.
good.
Yeah.
Good choices.
Plays a crazy guy. Go figure.
My honorable, right? He's a crazy guy. Since Cyrus the Virus, he's been a crazy guy.
Well,
Oh my God.
Brian Cox is one of my favorite character
Yeah,
actors.
he's awesome.
He's great in pretty much everything he does.
Oh yeah, Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh.
standout.
Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh
Oh,
man,
of course, he's more of a
Underrated.
lead
we'll get
there.
there, Morgan. We'll
Yeah.
get
He's the lead. Sorry.
I haven't
Sorry.
seen that one. It's on the DVR.
We'll get there. That's in like multiple weeks.
We're jumping ahead.
Well, maybe it is.
Maybe it isn't.
All right. Honorable mentions. I've got quite a few. Inception. We've already touched on that. I've also got my little horror section of honorable mentions, and that includes Devil and Legion. And those both came out around the same time. Devil was hyped up as an M. Night Shyamalan produced movie, so that garnered my interest because in 2010, the M. Night Shyamalan hype was still real for me, and I really enjoyed that movie. That is a film starring Logan Marshall Green, who's been one of my favorite lesser-known actors for a while, and he is trapped on an elevator, so pretty cliche stuff so far. But on the elevator, there is an entity, so to speak. Spoiler alert: the movie title kind of gives it away.
Is it the devil?
Yeah. So some terrible things start happening in close confines movies, as aforementioned, are like right up my wheelhouse. So I really have to check Buried out. But being trapped in an elevator, I have been in the past, and then I've been by myself. But if I was on an elevator with these folks, I would think I'd be pretty intimidated because there's a lot of weird shit going on, and the security footage of the elevator itself plays a major role in this movie. So a lot of it is seen through like the supernatural activity that happens on video and through the security monitors, which adds to the intensity. Super underrated movie. The director of this one went on to direct some of my favorite horror movies of the decade. Also, previously, the Poughkeepsie tapes back in the previous decade, which, if you haven't checked out, you definitely should. That's like a better version of Maniac, which is hard to top. And then Legion is just basically all of the apocalypse coming to fruition in a very comic book like style with Paul Bettany as.
It's the one in the
Paul
diner,
Bettany.
right?
Yeah, it's the one that opens in the diner with the creepy 70-year-old lady crawling on the ceiling.
Yeah, that is kind of creepy.
And,
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid's pretty awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
Love me some Dennis Quaid. Paul Bettany's been like a go-to for so many movies for so long. So
Yes.
I like both of those.
Do you have a guilty pleasure movie from 2010?
Oh, guilty pleasure. Well, shit, those were my guilty pleasures too.
All right.
But there is a recent one that I've rewatched that is gonna be watched again and probably introduced to my guilty pleasure list. It's called The Losers. It is a
That's
Was
on my
that
list.
2010?
Yes.
It is a DC
Yes.
inspired Vertigo Comics inspired movie starring just an all-star
Everyone,
cast.
pretty
Chris
much.
Evans, Idris Elba, the lady who plays Samara. Why can I not think of her
Zoe
name? She's so
Saldana.
hot. Yeah, Zoe Saldana.
Comedian.
Yes,
Yeah.
the comedian
Jeffrey
Dean Morgan.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Fresh
You had
off his Supernatural
uh,
fame as the dad in this one.
Idris
I don't know.
Elba.
That was a blah
Idris
movie.
Elba was.
Oh, I liked it.
Idris Elba, amazing. It's basically the A Team in a.
That's why Morgan doesn't
Yeah,
like
that's
it.
That's
why
right.
Morgan
It's
doesn't like it.
competition.
It's a better version of
Jinx.
the A Team
Oh.
with a female lead in it. So yeah, it jumps all over the place. Takes you from like the jungles to the inner cities of somewhere in Brazil, and underrated villain in it is Jason Patrick. He plays the bad guy. Never seen him as a villain again, but he's kind of like a real douchey bad guy in this movie. Super underrated. The action sequences are pretty stellar, and there's like the Fast and Furious borrowed from them, and there's this scene where like an armored truck gets lifted by a helicopter, and it actually comes in contact with some skyscrapers in like downtown Sao Paulo. So watching the behind the scenes and seeing how they did that without CGI was pretty fun. It's just a straightforward action movie that is very, very resembling of the A Team, but a little different for me. I liked it a lot. Idris Elba probably put it over the top.
What were you gonna say, Morgan?
Nothing. I'll be nice.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Have you seen? You've seen Losers, right?
Yeah, it's just very generic. I think I don't know that there's anything that jumps out as outstanding.
It is,
but
generic.
I didn't read
That's
the
where-
comic book.
That's where
you
guilty
know,
pleasures.
yeah.
Right, that's why it's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
What's Michael from Lost Boys? You say Jason Patrick?
Yeah,
Jason Patrick. It's funny you had said that I hadn't seen Jason Patrick as a villain since. I haven't seen Jason Patrick since.
Oh,
But like I
but
just
you've seen. Okay, so the interesting side note on this is that there's 3 major MCU actors in it.
Fuck
that
yeah,
transition. Yeah, so I mean,
Jeffrey.
the cast was Chris. What's his face? Captain America's in it.
Chris
yeah.
Evans.
Yeah, Chris Evans' role.
Idris Elba.
Pretty funny. Idris Elba
Or-
and.
So Zoe Saldana,
Zoe Saldana.
and then you
Zoe's
have
in there,
Jeffrey Dean Morgan as a comedian and Watchmen.
But that's
That's
DC.
DC.
Well, DC. I mean,
Just
yeah,
comic-
I mean, like,
yeah.
And this
comic
is a
book.
DC movie as well, so it's
Yeah.
the little Easter egg that
Yeah.
all these people jump ship
It's all
to Marvel.
destined.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I have it written down. I just didn't know
Nice.
if I would get to it. So thank you.
Okay.
I guess my honorable mention would be The Social Network. I don't know that it's aged very well because I haven't seen it in a
Hasn't.
long time, but at the time I loved it. Like not so much because it was about Facebook, but I really like the guy's name that I can't even think of right now, the one that wrote it.
Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin. Yes. I love his work. I love his dialogue. You know, it's real quick and just
Yes.
moving nonstop, you know, and I loved it. And I thought Jesse Eisenberg
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg.
was really, really good at delivering that dialogue because he kind of speaks that way anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really, really liked it in the moment. I don't know that I'd like it now because I haven't seen it in a while.
We watched it because it's
You
been
watched
it's been it's been coming up on HBO a lot, and so I've rewatched it, and I still enjoy it watching it, because just to see how the evolution of Facebook and
Right?
everything that went on behind the scenes, like something that we were like all really excited about, like, oh
Yeah.
my god, social media, let me talk to my friends, let me have,
Right.
you know, all this kind of bullshit.
So-
Yeah,
at the
right?
time, like, it's so crazy.
So maybe that's why I don't think it's aged well, because the evolution of Facebook hasn't aged well.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I got on Facebook in college, 2006, 2007, because it was posited as a social network amongst colleges,
Mhm.
and since then, it's evolved into now I got to see.
Devolved.
Yeah, it's devolved.
Yes.
Good point.
Mhm.
It's devolved into I got to read status updates from my uncle-in-law on a fishing boat, and he's got to showcase what kind of fish he caught. That's great. I could have lived life without knowing that. But the reasoning behind the movie not evolving well over time is because the people behind that social network just integrity-wise haven't
Right.
really-
Real life kind of tarnished the movie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some of the motivations behind the
Yeah, I don't-
power it plays, they're not really highlighted in that movie because it's positioned as a coming of age movie in
Right.
2010, and it's just basically become like a capitalist agenda movie for me over time.
Right. And then my guilty pleasure movie is probably Easy A, just because I love Emma Stone.
That's on my list too.
Yay! But I also have The Expendables because I'm a sucker for an action movie.
Also better than the 18.
No, it's okay.
Oh!
Do we need to separate y'all two?
I liked the idea of bringing
Might
in all
get
these
into
big
it over
name
these
action
action movies.
stars, and it was fun.
Sylvester Stallone's in it. It's not better.
Oh.
Dang.
2010 was past his prime.
That was also 9 years ago too, and he's about to come out with another
Oh my
fucking
God.
Rambo.
I know, right?
Oh my god.
Just watching that trailer.
Although Creed was good, but
In spite of him,
yeah, well, no. I mean, I like Sly Stone. Just giving him a
He
hard
got
I
time.
know.
nominated for an Oscar. Who the hell thought Stallone would get nominated for an Oscar after making those action movies?
not in a year when other movies came out.
Thought Rocky did.
Balboa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No,
the
he
first
got-
Rocky.
Did he? It was either Rocky or it was Creed. Either one. He got nominated.
So
And it was a big deal.
He got nominated. He did get nominated for best supporting actor for Creed, but I don't think he didn't win though.
though. The fact he got nominated.
But I think he also did get nominated for Rocky though.
I think
But
he
let
got
me
nominated
double
for
check.
the original Rocky and maybe even Rocky Balboa, which was the predecessor to Creed. That was what's Rocky doing? It kind of segued to all these offshoots, Creed 1 and Creed 2. There was Rocky Balboa right before that, which
Yeah.
not a lot of
Yeah.
people remember. But
I liked it.
Best actor and best writing in Rocky.
So he did win it for writing.
He was nominated.
It was nominated. I thought he didn't. Did Rocky win Best Picture though? Because I remember seeing him holding a freaking Oscar, and I'm thinking. I think
that's
he.
from Stopping My Mom Will Shoot.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, with a still freaking kid.
That must be it.
I think didn't Rocky win Best Picture?
Yes, it won Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film
In
Editing.
the 70s, what a time to be alive. When Rocky's winning Best Picture, as it should.
She's never seen the first one.
Yeah,
I haven't
Jaws, the
either.
greatest movie ever, comes out.
We're
in
gonna
the
make you
70s.
watch it the same time we make
We haven't
Maggie
seen
watch
any
it.
of them. That's one of the series that Jeff and I have been like, okay, we're gonna get caught up on this one. We just did Fast and Furious a few weeks ago, so now
I'm sorry.
now it's
What a
time for
waste of
Rocky.
time.
I've told you.
No,
I've
Hey,
told
we
you
had a
this.
blast.
Hey, good job on
Thank you. We had to go see Hobbs and
Movies
Shaw,
aren't
so it was
as
worth
bad
it.
as-
It was worth all the brain cells that could have been better spent on alcohol.
We watched 8 movies in 2 days. We didn't need brain cells.
Holy shit!
I don't want to hear no shit from you about Fast and Furious.
They're okay.
Do you have any other guilty pleasures?
Not from that year, I don't think.
Let's hear this trash from Miguel now.
Right?
You know what? I'm not even gonna. I was gonna actually agree with you, but now I'm not going to. When some of the movies our movies intersected with him being a dick, I'm not gonna mention them. I was gonna say Inception makes my honorable mentions list. Tron also makes the list. Toy Story 3. The Fighter. No one's mentioned The Fighter. That was such a good movie, such a good, solid movie, and I didn't hate Mark Wahlberg in it. So yeah, that really says something. I'm not a huge Mark Wahlberg fan. I sure as hell was not back in 2010. He was still
Yeah,
getting
he
winner.
was still undecided for me too back then.
Yeah.
The Fighter was good. Just personally, I thought it was a little slow, but I'm willing to entertain like
Boogie
Being on
Nights
an
did
honorable
nothing for anyone with Mark Wahlberg. No.
no.
Oh.
That's a movie
Disappointing.
that benefited from
It's just fun.
its topic, and I think you could have put anybody in the role of Dirk Diggler who had a muscular build. I mean, he's kind of a brain dead character at the end of the day. He's not. He's just a. It's the world around him that made Boogie Nights great. It's the
Right,
direction
the
by
story.
Paul W. Anderson, and Burt Reynolds made that movie. The party scenes made that movie. The glimpse into 70s porno made that movie. It wasn't Mark Wahlberg. That was just a.
I'm not saying he made the movie, but I'm saying he was really good. It takes something to play a dumb guy. I mean, it really
Fair enough.
does.
Yeah, fair enough. Now that you mention it,
I mean, John C. Reilly's in there, and he's great in that too.
John C. Reilly's like a dumb guy in every movie.
Not always,
Walk
but
Hard, Holmes and Watson.
well, those are comedies. That really wasn't a comedy, though, right?
That's true.
He wasn't.
He's a dumb guy.
He wasn't a dumb guy. He was a little bit of a nutter, but he wasn't a dumb guy in that Kong movie. Skull Island.
Yeah.
Underrated.
My favorite John C.
Very
Riley is Chicago.
Yes, same, Heather.
Love that performance.
All the guys go quiet.
I don't care.
I had no idea that John C. Reilly could sing, like at all.
Yeah.
And
that song is so sad.
it's
and
awful. And
ugh.
in the whole performance, whatever, he's getting ready, and he's getting ready as a clown.
Yeah.
Like so sad.
But it's just a great, like,
Great performance.
Yeah. He's the highlight of that movie for me, actually.
I think I didn't mention all my other honorable mentions for that year. I mentioned Tron. I mentioned shitting on again. Sorry, Heather Scott Pilgrim.
That's okay.
But that's basically it. Toy Story 3 was amazing, and I empathize with Maggie was saying that it was such a perfect ending, especially for people who grew up watching that. I was a little kid when Toy Story came out, man. I was like,
Yeah.
What was it, 95?
95.
I was 9 years old when that damn movie came out. So
Dang.
yeah, and it was a big deal to me. I remember going to Burger King or McDonald's and trying to collect all the little toys.
Oh, yeah.
Every character from Toy Story. So to watch that as an adult in my early 20s, in college, I was taken aback by that last scene. I was, oh my god, I was crying. So yeah, it deserves
That's
an
how
honorable
Disney
mention.
gets you, Miguel.
It's-
That's how they get you.
They're trying to do it again with Star Wars, but that's a
Yeah,
different
that's
conversation.
No, we
Well, no,
got
we need
Maggie's
Maggie's choices.
How dare you? I mean,
I see.
to be
That was smooth. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, my honorable mentions were already mentioned. So I had Easy A and I had Social Network as well. Easy A is such a good movie. Like, I love the parents of the movie.
Yeah.
And the message that, she's just like, well, fuck it. I just have this reputation. I'm just going to own it.
Right? I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah. And she does something terrible. she just has this like fuck it attitude, like I'm gonna have the, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. And then she ends up saying something that she shouldn't, had no business saying.
Right.
And then she realized, okay, I need to take a step back and realize what I'm doing. And I think it's a good message. And it was really funny. Emma Stone is so good in it. And what Hayden Thomas Hayden Church, yeah. And then
Lyle from
Sandman.
Wings.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
the repairman in the old TV show Wings.
I love that show.
Steven Weber. Yeah. The klutz who fixes all the stuff,
Yep.
but is very like the everyman relatable.
That's all he was for the longest time.
Like, well, Wings was on for like 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Then he just blew up on Sideways.
Oh yeah.
What were you gonna say?
As Sandman.
No.
No, I know.
He got like an Oscar nod and all these big props from doing Sideways, and after that, his career blew up. He was Sandman, and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Easy A and Social Network all the way.
Easy A was a movie that, as a 20-year-old guy, I wasn't like jumping into, but I worked for a rental store at the time. Well, we know this because we shared our Blockbuster stories. So I just rented it for free one day, and I was pleasantly surprised. And the comedy was pretty good. Another one of those that I don't think is on my list anywhere, but it reminds me of Bad Teacher a little bit, like as far as the style of humor, not the plot.
Kind of reminds me of
Yeah.
Mean Girls.
Yeah, Mean Girls as well.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our favorite movies from 2010. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel to stay up with our content. We will be having videos out every week for follow-up to the 2011, 2012, and so on. So thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you again next time.